So when and how did the supernatural go out of style in mainstream Christianity? Is it true that miracles came to an abrupt end following Jesus' crucifixion? Did they somehow become irrelevant? Let's glance back at early church history. Irenaeus was one of the early church fathers who wrote extensively against the heresies of Gnosticism. He also affirmed the apostolic succession, the authority of the scriptures, and the rule of faith as the basis of Christian doctrine. He was a disciple of Polycarp, who was a disciple of John the Apostle, and thus he had a close connection to the early apostolic age and Jesus' teachings. According to Irenaeus and other early church writers, miracles, signs, and wonders did not cease after the first century, but continued to be performed by ordinary Christians as well as church leaders. They saw these miraculous works as evidence of God's power and presence among His people, and as a means of evangelism and edification. Some of the miracles they reported include healings, exorcisms, raising the dead, speaking in tongues, prophecy, and visions. That said, it is difficult to point to a precise point in time when and why these miraculous gifts became less common or less important in the history of the Church. The short answer for why is spiritual warfare. The kingdom of darkness could never have survived an increasing level of divine power flowing forth from a growing body of Christians. As for when, it seems the decline of the supernatural in Christianity was gradual over hundreds of years. Here are some of the milestones along the way: the rise of institutionalized Christianity after Constantine's conversion, and the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, which granted religious tolerance to Christians and ended the persecutions. This may have led to a loss of spiritual fervor and dependence on God among some Christians, who became more comfortable and complacent in their faith. Here we see Satan switching things up. If persecution and martyrdom would not wipe Christianity from the face of the earth, he would try complacency. First, he would lay off the overt warfare, to make their dependence on God for provision and protection seemingly unnecessary. The development of theological controversies and schisms within the Church, such as the Arian controversy, the Nestorian controversy, and the Monophysite controversy. These disputes may have distracted some Christians from seeking and exercising the gifts of the Spirit, and instead focused on defending their doctrines and traditions. The influence of rationalism and skepticism in the medieval and modern periods, which challenged the credibility and validity of miracles and supernatural phenomena. Some Christians may have adopted a more naturalistic worldview that denied or downplayed the possibility of divine intervention in human affairs. It's easy for us to take literacy for granted today, but throughout human history, the vast majority of humans remained illiterate and uneducated. As humans gradually let their relationship with and dependence upon God deteriorate over the centuries, a decline in the miraculous necessarily occurred, just as the enemy had hoped. With a decline in the miraculous, humans were vulnerable to the Enlightenment philosophy, where so-called rationalism superseded faith in God as the preeminent religion of the day. The emergence of different views and practices regarding the gifts of the Spirit among various Christian traditions and denominations. Some groups may have emphasized certain gifts over others, or restricted their use to certain occasions or persons. Some groups may have neglected or rejected some or all of the gifts as irrelevant or dangerous for their time. This is the time when the most recent deceptive doctrines of demons took root in Christianity. For example, cessationism,